good evening. Welcome to the new year. Welcome to a new round of my art challenge and welcome to today's live stream. I hope you all made it well into the new year, had a few relaxing, good days, and are looking forward to this year, hopefully full of good, beautiful, and creative moments. So, in my last live stream last week, I introduced the new challenge. So this is this month's theme, ocean animals. So this year we're going to have a new theme, a different theme every month. And other than last year, we can use all the colors. There are a few things that stay the same. So we'll have live streams here once or usually twice a month. There'll be a giveaway at the end of the month. I also realized I haven't done the giveaway for December yet, so I'll try and catch up on that. And another new thing is the side quests. Those are fun. So these are totally optional. But if you want to challenge yourself, because there are only 4 prompts a month, you can choose any of these side quests. So for today's painting, I did not think about including a side quest. We're painting this humpback whale in mixed media, and we're gonna try out some lifting technique here. I'm gonna talk about this in a minute. What we could do today in order to include one of the side quests maybe is to include a few fun facts about the animal. So maybe you guys can help me with that. That would be a nice thing to do, right? We could gather some fun facts about humpback whales, and I could just leave a little space in the painting or include the facts later on. Okay. Let's turn around the camera and let's get started. And then I'll also have a look at the chat to see who is there and how you guys' new year was. Okay, so got this in my phone stand. As always, please let me know if there's trouble with the audio or if you want me to zoom in or zoom out. Okay, let me take a look at the chat. Hello, everyone. Hi, Linda. Hi, Sylvie. Hey, Tracy. Happy New Year. Paczynski. Hi, Sus. Servus, Kerstin. Hello, na schön kreativ. Hey, MJ. Oh, you made it after all. Wonderful. Oh, wait, she says, not home. We'll paint later, but can't wait. This is so pretty. Thank you. Hello, Lisa. Hey, Susan. Fresh start to a new year. Yeah, doesn't it feel great? I don't know. I mean, it's something about it. It's just, a good friend of mine would say, just another day. But I love the new year. I totally love it. I love this feeling of a new beginning, a new start. And it's an important day in Japan, too. The first 3 days of the year are probably the most important in Japan. Like the new year is also the only time that most people have a vacation. Not a lot of vacation time in Japan, but those first days in January are usually vacation days for everyone. Hello, Amber. Are you from New Zealand? Just wondering because your handle says Amber NZ. She says, first time joining a live. Exciting. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. Ooh, I feel like Amber might be a friend of Susan's, huh? Wonderful. All right. Let me make some space here. I got a lot of stuff on my desk today. So first, let's start with why I have two whales here on my desk. This one here, I did in 2024. It was part of my 30-day mixed media challenge, and it also had the theme ocean, but it was more ocean in general, so not just ocean animals. And I used a limited color palette for that, and did some ocean themed prompts, but this was not part of the Aloha 24 challenge. This was on my other account, Aloha Studios, and I kind of did this challenge for myself, 30 days, with this beautiful handmade book by Sylvie. She's in the chat too, Sylvie's Watercolors, using different papers too. How fun is that? And this humpback whale was painted after a photo I found on Unsplash, and if you have my newsletter, you have received the photo as well. And thinking about what to draw for this round of the challenge, I figured I really like this motif and how it turned out, so I thought, why not do a live stream on that, because I never did one on this one. So I received a brand new sketchbook by one of my friends in Australia, Marie Creative Escape. It's a Strathmore soft cover, and even though it's a mixed media sketchbook, it's pretty good for watercolor. I mean, it's kind of thin paper. It's only 90 pounds, so 190 GSM. But I gotta say, it's holding up pretty well. I was able to do the lifting technique, get these white stripes here in the water, and throw all sorts of mixed media onto that. So I decided this is going to be the sketchbook for this year's challenge. So I'm going to try and do, one prompt per page, but let's see how it goes. For today's session, I will be using my good old trusty Canson XL watercolor paper. And honestly, even though it says it's cold pressed, I really like that the surface is rather smooth. So I find that, for example, doing the lifting technique is very easy here on this paper. So if you're interested in learning more about lifting, I have a video here on the channel that talks a lot and shows you different techniques and approaches about lifting watercolor. So lifting watercolor just means that you have paint on the paper, and then you use something like a towel or a dry brush, and you take away the paint to reveal the white of the paper. Very nice technique for light rays or clouds, for example. So I'm gonna use my Canson, and I'm gonna leave this one on the side so you have a good reference here. And as always, we're gonna start with a sketch, and then the next step will be to paint the background actually. So we're not gonna start with the whale. Do the background, we'll do the lifting, and then we'll do the whale last. Okay, just a quick look at the chat. Amber says, yes, from New Zealand. So I take it Sue's invited you. That's so lovely. Thanks, guys. And Mom says, hallo, liebe Sylvie. Danke dir, wünsche ich dir auch ein gutes neues Jahr 2026. 2026, you guys. Oh my goodness. It sounds like a science fiction movie, doesn't it? Just having the 20 in front. Just crazy. Okay, I didn't mention in the supply list in my newsletter that I will be using washi tape, but you're totally free to use it or not use it. So see here in my painting from 2024, I did not use washi tape, so the edges are kind of wild, and I do like that look. And in comparison for this one, I used washi tape. So just make up your mind what you like better. Let's see, I have some leftover from my last from when I did this painting. And look, it has whales on it. The little joys. Okay, I'll try and reuse these. The only drawback with doing this, you know, reusing washi tape is that it might not be as sticky anymore and you might get some paint underneath it. So make sure you press it down. You press it down really well. And another tip on taping paper, always do the parallel edges, the parallel sides first, because then when you do the other ones, it's easier to peel them off. So if you do, you know, this one first, and then this one, and then that one, you'll have them all crisscrossing. And then you kind of have to take everything off at the same time. But this way, okay, this tape is finished. So if you do it this way, you have everything set up really nice and greasy. Really easy to peel off later. So I had a very long, very beautiful day yesterday, but it might be the reason I'm going to stumble over my words today a little bit. So, okay. This cute tape, by the way, is from Piggy, the pigeon letters. So cute with those little pigeons. So, are you guys taping your paper too today, or are you just gonna do wild, rough edges? Okay, over in the chat, Julia says, Hallo Keiko, frohes Neues. Dein Wal sieht super aus. Thank you so much. Aw, Julia was complimenting my whale. Thanks. And then Sue said that no, she didn't invite Amber. That's such a nice coincidence, though. Having two folks from New Zealand. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Daggy. Okay, and Susan wants to know about my tape holder. Yeah, isn't that cool? And the really cool part about it is, look at that. I got more, and then you can stack them. I'll leave a link down below in the description box, okay? I have to find out where I ordered it. I can't remember right now, but I will find out. Now I have a whole tower of these, so it's pretty fun. Okay, as for the other supplies, I'm gonna use a pencil today. You can use just a regular pencil. I'm gonna use my erasable Pilot Color Eno. This one has a blue lead, and I have my kneadable eraser just in case. As for brushes, I'm using a large round 16 brush, mostly to just fill it, you know, the background with water quickly. And I have my travel brush, Alohawatercolors travel brush size 8. And the one brush I did not pull out, the one that's really good for lifting, is my filbert brush. Hold on, let me get that. Where is it? This one. This one. Yeah, okay. So a filbert brush is basically a flat brush that is rounded in front. And this one is by Princeton. It's a snap brush. It's very elastic, snaps back as the name suggests. And this one is really good for lifting paint. You do not want to use a very soft brush for lifting. So if, for example, if you have like real animal hair brushes that are super soft, lifting will be a bit tricky. Other supplies I will be using are Aloha watercolors, my own handmade watercolors. This is Summer Sky, Asia Blue, and then this is Shell Ginger. It's a pastel pink. Jade vine, it's almost empty. It's a phthalo turquoise. And Kohola. Kohola means humpback whale in Hawaiian, and this is a synthetic dark indigo. As always, feel free to use any colors of any brands that you have at hand. For this particular whale, you can use different types of blue. You know, it's all good. You see a little bit of purple in here, and that's actually due to me using these water-soluble crayons. These are Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2s. I have the colors Payne's Gray, and this is indigo blue, which is in reality actually more purple. This is the dark purple you see on the paper. And then I have turquoise blue here. Again, if you don't have this brand, just use any, if you have water-soluble crayons. You can also do this whole thing in watercolors, of course. So you don't have to do mixed media. And instead of the crayons, you can also use water-soluble colored pencils. Again, brand doesn't matter. I have the Derwent inktense here, and this is actually not a color I'm going to use. Hold on. Let me find the one that I will be using in a second. So this one is teal green, and this one is Payne's Gray. And I like to do swatches on my Derwent inktense. Let's see, I was gonna use, actually I can't remember, did I use indigo too? And if so, where is it? You know what, I'm gonna check this out later. I think I also used indigo, but I think we're gonna be fine with just these two also, so no worries about that. And I think that's it for supplies, right? Yeah, paper, brushes, pencil, watercolor paints, colored pencils, and crayons. All right, let's get started, you guys, with the sketch. Okay, Kerstin says, I taped. Yes. And Susan as well. Very good. Yeah, I usually don't tape my edges very often, but I decided to do so today because I really like the look of this one here. Okay, for the sketch, we want to place a whale so that we can also have space for the surface of the water. So the whale is just about to breach through the surface. So make sure you leave a little bit, about, you know, like 2 centimeters, almost an inch here at the top. And then about another almost inch below. This is where the whale snout or whale mouth, or the tip of the whale, will be. And then from there on, actually I'm going to place this a bit more to the right, because see how it is curved? So we're working with a kind of like a diagonal here, yeah, from corner to corner. So almost, let's put it over here. So think of your paper in thirds, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you'll place your whale at about approximately a third of the page. From here, we'll draw a curved line down like this, and then just double check the placement of your whale again. This is looking good. I think I'm going to be able to include the 2 fins here. And I just want to make sure that the whale is situated on the paper in a nice, you know, a nice comfortable way. It's not too much on the right side. It's not too much on top, the bottom. And then you can divide this line into thirds approximately. It doesn't have to be too exact. Okay, and then we're going to do the top part like this. approximately here to the third, and this is where the fins would be. If you're using my template that I sent with my newsletter, you are of course very welcome to trace the template. I feel like even though a whale might look easy to draw because it's a blob, right? It is tricky to get proportions of animals right. So my live streams are never about drawing right because honestly, to me, there is no right way to do it. But you know what I mean. I mean, you want your animal to be recognizable for what it is, right? So I'm gonna try our best. So while I was talking, I drew in the eyes. And then let's go over to the right-hand side and we're gonna draw in the other fin here. This one looks more skinny because on this side, the fin is actually pointing towards the viewer in the full side view. Let's make it a bit bigger. And then this one here, you see from the bottom. So it's kind of like my hand like this on this side, and then here like this. Okay, let's continue with our whale. So the proportions are about the same here. So for the head part, and then for the middle part of the whale. It's approximately the same distance. And then from this elliptic shape, we're gonna take a few parts away to make our whale look a bit more curved. All right, and then okay, I think I'm gonna change up the head a little later on because right now it looks a bit like a koi carp. All right, and then for the tail, we're just gonna add another elliptic shape. And now you can fit in the tail into your paper. So if you have this situation like I do here, just change up the shape of the tail a little bit to fit your page better. All right, so my whale is a bit too thick, too broad to be a whale. So as I said right now, it reminds me very much of a carp. So let's make it a bit slimmer. In order to do that, I'm going to move this line in a little bit. Okay, and then make the belly a bit wider here. Okay. I just stood up to look at my drawing from the top because, you know, whenever I do a live stream, I'm always drawing from an angle, which sometimes creates a bit of a wonky line. Okay, and I'm using my my kneadable eraser to erase just a few of the guidelines. Here we go. Okay, and then the eyes, I think, are just a bit smaller than I drew them. Even though whale eyes are huge compared to, for example, our eyes, when you place them in comparison to the rest of the whale, they're actually not that big. Okay, here we go. And then these beautiful humpback whales have some texture here. not sure how these are called, but kind of like stripes. So you can draw these in, or you can just do it freehand later. Okay, and then this fin, let me just look at this. No, I think it's okay. Maybe here, let's make it a bit wider. The nice thing about using mixed media is that you can go in later and change the shape and the texture with your color pencils and with your crayons. So don't be too concerned about getting every single millimeter of your sketch right at this point. But on the other hand, if you have a good sketch to work with, then you can kind of lean back and relax and just do some coloring. Hi, Maria. Maria says, Florida scuba gal who has dove the Great Barrier Reef. Happy I found you. Thank you. Yeah, happy you found all of us here. I've never been to Australia. It's definitely on my bucket list, especially the Great Barrier Reef. Must be just breathtaking. Okay, so, excuse me. Okay, next step, we're gonna do the background. So with my large round brush, you can also use another round brush. It's mostly really just to drop in some water. And you can see, because I used a water soluble and erasable pencil for my sketch, that some of the lines are already starting to blur, which I really like. This is something that I find a big advantage of using this particular pencil as opposed to a regular one. But again, because we're gonna do mixed media, don't worry about the pencil lines. Most of them won't show up later because we're gonna add 3 layers: watercolor, colored pencil, and crayons. I added water to everything except for the whale. So I'm going around the whale, and wherever I stop, there will be a natural barrier, a water barrier, so to speak, and the paint will automatically stop in that area. So wherever you drop in paint, let's say, just drop it in, and it's not going to go beyond your water barrier. And already think about the diagonal here. So the light comes in from the top right and will create, nice striations in the water. So already when you're distributing your paint, and this is the dark indigo, already think about those diagonal lines. My paper is drying really fast today. So even though we had a huge deluge just a few days ago, 4 inches in 2 hours. My gosh, it was so much rain. That was a few days ago, so now it's dry again and pretty warm, and it, everything dries pretty fast. Okay, I'm coming pretty close to my whale, and this technique here also helps define the whale. So this is what you would call negative space technique. So you define your subject by painting around it, and the paint around it defines, in this case, the whale. All right, we have the indigo layer, and now let's drop in some other colors. So I'm gonna try and get some of my phthalo turquoise out of this poor, almost empty pan. And again, remembering that I'm gonna do diagonals. This is how I'm adding the paint. You can be really free with the colors that you like to use here. You can even do something completely different. You can do just pinks and purples if you like. I'm using my pastel pink now. And also dropping in a little bit of my azure blue. So I would actually be really thrilled to see you use different colors and how that would look. Because for all of you who have been in the ocean or watched ocean documentaries, you know that the water can look really different depending on the day, where you are, how deep you are. Okay, and Maria says, because I talked about these textures on the whale, she says they're called pleats. Ooh, that's cool to know. Now this would be a fun fact, because isn't pleats also another word for something else, like for in clothing, maybe? So for all of you who are new around here, I'm not a native English speaker. So for me, I usually learn a new word in every live stream, which is super cool. I love that. At least one word in at least one language. So with you guys, it's always such a bonus for me. Okay, next step after we finished our wild background is to use either a round brush or a filbert or a flat brush, you know, something that's really snappy and not too soft. And then what you will need is some kind of a cloth or paper towel to dry off your brush. And then you can go and pick up the paint you just dropped in or dropped on your paper. I'm rinsing my brush and I'm drying it again. Now, if this doesn't really work for you, this could have different reasons. Most likely it's the paper that you're using. Lifting technique does not work equally well on every paper. Sometimes you might want to just go over the same spot multiple times, and I know it's a lot of rinsing and wiping and all that. Another thing is that you might see the result better once the paint is dry. So if you feel like, oh, nothing's showing up, then you just wait until it's dry and it'll show up more. A nice thing about using washi tape for your edges is that you don't have to worry at all where you start with your lifting. So what I mean is when you don't have a washi edge, so see how I did the lifting here and it kind of created different finishes on those different lines and marks. You can see it down here too. So it looks even more wild. And again, this is something that you might like, but I think for a more smooth look or clean look, I always hesitate to use the word clean with any of my paintings because this is really not what I'm going for. But again, yeah, you might want to tape your paper. Also for the reason that you don't have to worry about how to finish the line, how to finish the lifting, because it's naturally going to be looking very clean. And you will see what I mean later when I take off the washi tape. So for a more natural look, make sure that the lines are not spaced out too equally. So you want to place them closer together, further apart in some areas. And then I'm looking back to the chat, and because of my earlier comment where I asked if pleats are also enclosed, Susan says yes in English, in the English language. Pleats are like on a skirt or a piece of clothing, right? Yes, yes. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, and we'll just go over the rest of the page here. Oh, and don't worry if you lift into your whale, because again, we're gonna cover the whole whale with 3 layers of mixed media later. I just wouldn't suggest that you just go over the whale like that. So yeah, you should stop approximately here, like where the outline is. And again, if the lifting does not work for you at all, you can try on a different paper. And I would recommend that you maybe just try out on a little, like you paint a little rectangle, for example, and then try lifting. And then depending on which paper this works best on, this is the paper you want to use for this whale. Now, of course, if you have a designated sketchbook for this challenge, and if you do, thank you very much. It makes me really happy. And if it's just very thin paper, for example, then you don't probably maybe are not able to do this lifting technique. So what you can do instead, if you want this kind of look or a similar look, is to use a non-water soluble wax crayon, a white one, like a Crayola. And before you start painting, the very first step, you just put those stripes down. Just make sure you don't put them over your whale. So I should say the very first step would be drawing your whale, and then with a wax crayon, you just draw your lines on the paper, and then you add watercolor. And the wax crayon will act as like a resist technique and will repel the watercolor. Okay, here we go. I feel like maybe... And another thing is, as soon as your paper, paper and the paint dries, lifting will be a lot harder. It's always easiest when the paint is still wet. So the drier your paint, the harder it will be. And the last factor is also the paint itself. Some pigments and some paints just go into the paper and then fuse with the paper, and it's almost impossible to get it off the paper again. So if you're working with a lot of phthalos, for example, if you're working with phthalo blue today, you might have a hard time lifting it. So which paper you're using and then which paints you're using are going to be responsible for your success of lifting. Okay, over in the chat, Mom says, Keiko-chan, this is a very interesting technique with towel and water to create white lines. She says she loves it. Thank you. Okay, let me just quickly have a look if I can find an example for lifting wax resist. Oh, here it is. Wow, that was quick. Okay, you guys, just very quickly. I did all these with a wax crayon, yeah? So wax crayon, and then paint over the wax crayon with watercolor. So it is kind of a similar effect. Just be aware that you cannot paint over your wax crayon. That's a drawback. With this technique, you just take off the paint off the paper. You could theoretically paint over it again, which makes it a very flexible technique. Okay, Sue says, I can't get the lifting to work. I think it's a combination of the paper and the paint drying too quickly. Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell me which paper you're using? Okay, so while I'm waiting for Sue's answer, and I think we always have a little bit of a time delay. That's why it seems like you're waiting forever for me to continue. Okay, I'm gonna start with the whale. Okay, Sue says, I'm not sure it's just a sketchbook. I'll try again with watercolor paper later. Yeah, it will be difficult on just regular, thinner sketchbook paper for sure. But lifting really also takes a little bit of practice. It's something that, you know, a lot of people are frustrated with too because it rips the paper. For example, it's really not the easiest technique. So be patient with yourself. And you can see, just take a look. This paper is a different paper. This is a Hanemühle Harmony 100% cotton. Works really nice. Again, this is Strathmore, but also 100% cotton. Worked pretty well. This is not cotton paper, it's just regular wood pulp watercolor paper. So it still works, and for my purposes, you know, absolutely, totally enough. But it just goes to show you that different papers have different results. Okay, with my large round brush, first making sure that the background is dry already before I go into my whale. I'm picking up a little bit of my indigo. You don't have to use a mixing palette, but I'll just use it to check on my color and the consistency. I want a kind of a watery indigo because this is a very dark and strong color. And I really want a light wash on my whale. And you can cover your whale. Make sure you leave a few spots of white here on the head. I'm only adding a very thin, very watered down layer of water and paint. And while the paint is still wet, let me switch to a smaller brush. This is a great brush, but it soaks up a lot of water and it's going to be a bit too watery. So I'm changing to my size 8 brush. Picking up a little bit of phthalo turquoise and just painting a few parts of the whale with that. It really doesn't matter which ones. You do not have to do that either if you don't want any turquoise in your whale. It's totally up to you. Okay, for those of you who are painting along, how's it going for you guys? Anybody else getting frustrated with the lifting technique? Or did it work? I hope it works. Okay, let me just see. The angle seems a bit weird here. I'm gonna try and straighten out the camera a little bit. Maybe just move all this over so that we're more parallel. I think that's easier for you to see then. Lisa says works very well. Oh, nice. So what paper are you using, Lisa? Oh, no more tea. Okay, I'm gonna have to get up in a few minutes and pour myself another cup of tea. Okay, and this kind of almost concludes the watercolor layer. I want to add a little bit here on top. Just checking if it's dry enough. Yeah, I think it is. Always check with the back of your hand. You have less oils on the back of your hand than on the inside of your hands. And oil of the hands almost acts like wax crayons, so it will, you know, seep into the paper and repel the paint. So always make sure you don't touch your paper too much with your fingertips. Lisa said it's the new one from Hanemühle. What? They have a new one called Watercolor Joy. Really? Ooh, oh my gosh. Tracy's gonna laugh now, my friend here from Oahu, because I told her, yeah, I'm gonna do like, not gonna buy any more supplies for a long time. Already tempted, look at me. Okay, a little more indigo. And let's go, hold on, we have a Chihuahua emergency. 1 second, you guys. You stay here, up, here. Hey. Back in the house. Now, back. Come here. Inside. Go. Go. Okay. Here we go. Oh, wait. Sorry, you guys. I'm back. I brought my teapot. So, I don't remember who said that. I think it was Nina. Keiko's live streams are not the same if it weren't for some kind of either dog or cat emergency. Emergency doesn't mean like emergency. I mean like, you know, them running out on the driveway and randomly barking at poor people who try to visit us. Okay, I'm continuing with the water surface. I want it to look kind of different from the water down below, so that's why I'm using horizontal lines, using different paints. In this case, I'm using indigo and a bit of my phthalo turquoise. And later on, we'll add some strokes with colored pencil as well. Always remember to rinse your brush in between, especially when you see that the colors are mixing. Okay. So Tracy says, Tracy is Arctic Tern. Ah, you like my pile sticker, huh? Yes. I think that was probably my favorite bird from my Hawaiian bird calendar this year. Yes. So in the calendar, it has foliage around it too, but I made stickers just with the birds. And yeah, puppy drama. LOL. Yes, I hear ya. Definitely. Let me just clean up this little mess I made. I guess you could call this watercolor lifting too, huh? Lifting watercolor off of my background. Not too bad, eh? Look at that. It's almost disappeared. Okay, and I will put my teacup on the other side, far away from my paint water, just in case. Sylvie says, love the bird sticker, very cute. Puppy drama, also too cute. I know. Just how many more days? 2 more days until my neighbor returns. And then I don't have that many puppies anymore. But honestly, guys, I love having them. I'll take all the drama any day. It's just so joyful. These little creatures, little chihuahuas, yeah. Oh my goodness. They're just so loving, so adorable. And they bark a lot. Well, you know, can't have it all, right? Okay, let's grab our water-soluble water-soluble crayons. If you don't have them, again, just use water-soluble colored pencils. If you do not have those either, then you have to wait for your paper to dry completely. Use a hairdryer to make sure. And then you can just use some regular colored pencils to get all the texture in. Or some regular crayons, you know, if you have Crayola or so. Just really make sure the paper is dry, otherwise you'll rip the paper. All right, and now we're gonna just add some texture. So the advantage of water-soluble anything is that it will be much softer than the regular counterparts. So for example, especially true for colored pencils, if you use regular colored pencil on moist or wet paper, it's probably gonna rip up all the paper fibers. So you gotta be careful with that. Let's choose that indigo blue. I'm holding my crayon kind of like down like this. So I'm using the side of the crayon rather than the tip. And in between the parts and areas that I lifted, I'm gonna just add a few more dark spots. So take note how much of the texture is shining through here. And it's because this paper has more of a surface texture than, for example, this one here. This seems very smooth, and therefore you don't really see, hold on, oh yeah, I did use colored pencil, but it's just blending in so much into the background. And then here on this paper, you see the texture come through much more. So that's why in my newsletter, in the supply list, I said use hot press paper so you don't see the texture come through as much. However, this is also a matter of preference, isn't it? You might find this interesting, you know, to work with the texture. And I think especially for the whale it will work, because the whale, the humpback whale, does have a lot of texture, bumps, everything on the skin. I just want to make sure to point out that you find your paper of preference. And, you know, especially if you watch this live stream first and then you paint, you can make a decision based on what these different paintings look like. So if you don't want as much texture, just go ahead and find a smoother paper. And if you want a lot of texture, then use cold press or even rough paper. I just want to mention one more thing. If you want to go back in with a moist brush, you know, and kind of work those layers of colored pencil and crayon into your background, this might lead to really interesting results too. And it is because we're using, or I'm using, water-soluble materials here now. Again, this won't be possible if you're using just regular colored pencil or regular colored crayons. The only reason I kind of hesitate to do that is that you create kind of like harsh edges where you lifted the paint, and I want everything to kind of blend well and not have any too harsh edges in the water. All right, let's just go back and add a bit more texture and make sure you keep in the same diagonal motion. So going like this. All right. I'm also making sure I don't add anything to all places here in the background. I do want just pure soft watercolor to be in the water as well. All right, this is it for the background. Let's move over to our whale. So I think I'm going to stick with the Payne's Gray. I like that. So first of all, I'm going to try and add a little bit to the outline, the definition of the outline, and also some details. If you have participated in live streams here before, you know that I usually do not work with continuous lines, so I don't just draw a continuous outline, but I kind of just work with small strokes, defining certain parts of the outline, but not going all the way through. But if you remember, one of the side quests for this month actually says work with a fine liner. So you could also try, if you like the look of watercolor and fine liner, to draw this whale just with watercolor and then use a fine liner to define the whale outline and texture. Okay, my mom wants to know when I found this interesting effect with adding crayons to watercolors. Good question. Das ist schon länger her, Mama. Das weiß ich schon, oder ich bin gar nicht sicher. I need to think a little bit. So I just switched to my blue crayon here. And I'm gonna just go back and forth between my dark Payne's Gray colored pencil and my crayons. So I have been drawing and painting on an almost regular daily basis, I'd say since 2019 or 20. Before that, I did mostly calligraphy and photography. And I think I was fascinated with mixed media from the start, even though I decided to become a watercolor paint maker. You know, like my job number one is being a watercolor paint maker, making my own watercolor paints. So naturally, I was very interested in learning about watercolor. But mixed media, yeah, I mean, I just loved that from the start. So I think it's been probably 5 years at least that I've known about this technique. So, ja, also mindestens 5 Jahre schon mache ich das, denke ich mal. Müsste ich mal vielleicht meine alten Skizzenbücher angucken. So this would be a good example for it. Let's go back and look at old sketchbooks of mine to find out. Okay, I have the outline for my whale. And now let's get to the, what was it, pleats? Yes, pleats. So you start with like a little mark like this. And then following this round elliptic shape of the head, you draw these pleats like this. I think I need a few more marks here on the fin, because the fin on a humpback whale is not very smooth at all. Oh yeah, by the way, do any of you, maybe the ones who are not painting along, want to come up with 1 or 2 fun facts? Very short, preferably, so I can squeeze them in somewhere here. I mean, the fact that these are called pleats, that could already be. Isn't that actually a really cool fun fact? I mean, especially because there are also pleats in a skirt. Kind of find that really cute. Grabbing my Payne's Gray crayon, just going over the whole whale, holding it down like this. Ooh, this is actually really cool. Look at this way the paper and the watercolor come through because of the texture of the paper. That's interesting. Okay, let's add a little more. Let's see how far I can get adding more and more layers. Making it darker, making the texture disappear a little bit. Okay, so Lisa says, man nennt sie auch die Sänger bei den Walen. So Lisa just said that amongst all whales in the world, the humpback whales are known as the singers. So they must have a really beautiful whale song. But don't they all? Right? All whales sing, do they? But humpback whales may be more like the opera singers. Okay, Mom says, enjoy your tea. Yes, I am. My green tea. It's delicious. And another fun fact from Tracy from far away. Oh, that's not a fun fact. Okay. See, from far away, the bottom texture looks like little dots at first. Yeah, right? So cool. That's why I really love working in different sketchbooks. And I also have a hard time sticking to just one sketchbook because I'm just really liking the fact that you have different outcomes. Even when you paint the same thing in the same way, it's gonna look different. Okay, back to whales singing. Lisa says, all whales sing, but humpback whales are have the most variety in their song. That's really cool. Okay, I think that's a good 2 very interesting facts. These things are called pleats, and then the humpback whales are show off the most with their songs. And Nina says, they say that the males sing long and complicated songs that can last up to 20 minutes. And in the same region, they all sing the same song, which changes every year. Ooh. So you mean like they have clans and then the clan in the same region sings the same song? Or is it really like any whale in this particular area, geographical area, sings the same song? Oh my gosh, it's like having a #1 hit. You know how like people, when they hear the same song and the radio play all the time, and then people just sing it all the time too? It sounds like that. They're like, ooh, look at this new hit from Willie the Whale. And then, you know, all the whales are just singing along. Yeah, Nina says, as if they're all working on the same new album together. So basically it's a contest, right? It's like a whale singing contest. It's so fun to imagine that, you know, these large creatures moving through the water and they're like, hey, I got that new song. Listen to me. So as you can see, I'm just switching between my crayons and my colored pencils, filling out different areas of my whale. And you know what? Let's go back with a moist brush and let's just make this part here a bit smoother. Again, this will only work if you use water-soluble supplies at this point. One thing I love about water-soluble crayons a lot is that you still have this texture of the crayon shine through, even if you go over it with water and smoothen it out a little bit. Okay, and let's just go into the pleats here. I'm rinsing and cleaning my brush in between because I pick up a lot of this Payne's gray and it's a very dark color, so I don't want it to be too dominant in the head area of the whale. And on another note, the bottom side of the fins are white, and I mean, as you can see, I did not paint them white, but I want to make sure that I don't add too much color, especially not the Payne's gray or indigo here. Gotta say the green is a bit strong here, so I'm using my moist brush to try and soften this a little bit. It does stand out, doesn't it? So maybe I'll try and go over it a little bit with my indigo just to blend it in with the rest of the whale a little more. Yeah, this is a very strong green. Which one is this? Teal green, yeah. So I want you guys to just have fun and experiment with your different supplies if you are using different supplies today. Excuse me. And I do know and I do realize that this can be quite frustrating because at some point you will have probably added take away, you know, 4 layers of mixed media. But I really encourage you, just roll with it. So whatever you do, make sure that the eyes of your whale are well defined. So you want to make sure that they are dark enough and that they stand out. You need a focal point, and usually with animals or people, it is the eyes or the face. And especially because we only see the eyes from the sides here, you want to make sure they are clear and that they stand out. Nina says, haha, the whale singing contest, yes. Suze says, I'm using the teal green too, and it does stand out. Yeah, it does. So Suze, make sure you have the belly of the whale really dark, and I think that that's gonna even things out a bit better. Mom says, hi everyone, singing is the best way. Singing makes us always happy, right?
Hi, Mom. Hi, world.
Hi, Jamesy.
Hi, Keiko.
And Nina says, 100%. Yes. Music and singing always cheers you up. Okay, so I'm using my blue crayon, going over my bright green fin. You see? Oh, I like it. Ooh, that gets more pastel-y now. Ooh, that's a nice look. I like that color. So you guys, if you used a very bright green like I did, and you have some kind of like an opaque, light blue wax crayon, try this. Ooh, I really like it. Okay, I'm gonna go over all my green parts. And down here a little bit too. Okay. It's, I think, also the same with the fluke of the whale, that the bottom side is white, isn't it? I think so, at least those parts here. So I think I was a bit too enthusiastic with my fluke here. So I'm gonna try and lift away some of the paint. Rinsing my brush and then drying it, just trying to take away some of the dark, but it's not working that well. Okay, so let's just leave it. And of course you have the option, especially if you watch this live stream and you paint later, to be more accurate with how the whale actually looks, in the sense of, you know, white parts, dark parts. Okay, so I'm gonna stand up again and look at my whale. So I do notice that in today's whale, the belly is much darker overall than in my previous painting. I do kind of like that on this one. It's lighter in the center here. I do like that. So I think today's whale looks a little bit almost like an octopus too, doesn't it? I have like an octopus koi whale today. And I think the fluke's too small and this is too big. Ah, wonderful. I mean, you know, this is the live stream, you guys. Things always happen. So I wonder, what do your whales look like? Ooh, Nina wants me to sing. No. Everybody says hi, Mr. Coffee.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. You gonna sing for us?
What?
He's like, say what?
Your breakfast is ready when you are.
Jamesy, I'm still live.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear the TV, you know.
I didn't mean that.
That's okay.
Sorry.
That's fine. You can maybe tune the volume down a little bit.
I don't need the volume. I'm just seeing if the volcano's going off.
All right. Is it going off?
Probably, in 2 seconds.
Okay. He will check if our volcano Kilauea is going off again. It looked like it yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, 2 days ago it looked like it was a little.
Yeah. We did see some lava. There's something going on. Okay, I think this would be a good opportunity to take off the washi tape and look at the hole.
Just smoking.
It's just smoking?
Yeah.
I guess that wasn't really an eruption then, huh?
Unless it happened all that night for 8 hours.
And we missed it?
We missed it.
Well, that wouldn't be the first time. Okay, and now I can show you what I meant with sticking on the tape in a certain way, because you can now easily take it off without taking off the rest at the same time. Excuse me. Right. Ooh, yeah, nice crisp edges. That worked really well. If you start taking off your washi tape and it rips the paper to stop, and use a hairdryer. Try to heat up the tape. That usually helps a lot. Also, you can just then start from the other side, and always make sure you don't take the washi tape off, you know, straight up, but at an angle like this. So heat up your tape, remove it at an angle, are a couple tips that usually help with removing the tape. Here we go. Yeah, it's cute. I like it. My little octopus sepia koi whale. I also just noticed that the whole back part here of the whale is much thicker than over here, and you know, even here. So I guess another reason why my whale looks more like a octopus. So I could say at this point that I did prompts 1 and 2, humpback whale and octopus, in one drawing, right? No, I'm just kidding. Next week we're gonna do another live stream with an octopus. But yeah, so what do you guys think? It's pretty cute, isn't it? I don't mind that it looks a bit wonky. Let's put a date stamp. So brand new year, so which means that turning from 2025 to 2026. January 2nd, first time I'm using this stamp this year. All right. Wow, 2026. Nina says, my whale is just a bit fuller because of all the Christmas treats and candy. Isn't that the truth? Same happened to me too. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed today's session. As I just mentioned, there will be another live stream. I think it's next Friday, so exactly 1 week from now on January 9th. But please, please always keep an eye on my newsletter and my Instagram stories to make sure that it is actually going to be that date, and we're going to draw an octopus together. So until then, I hope you have, you know, a very beautiful, nice, relaxed beginning of the new year. And as always, I'd be thrilled if you left me a heads up here, not a heads up, a thumbs up if you liked the video, and leave a little comment down below. That really helps my channel. All right, thank you so much.
Hau'ole makahiki ho.
Ha'ole makahiki ho. Akemashite omedetou. Frohes Neues. Happy New Year. All right, aloha and happy creating. Bye. See you next time. I can't reach the button. Sorry, you guys. I gotta unhook my phone. Okay.